Excited to have everybody here today, and the goal is to talk about why consistent revenue feels so hard and the 5 CEO shifts that are gonna fix it. I've been through this, and I know exactly how this all feels. So let's get pretty going pretty quick here. So if you are here live, just put in the chat that you're here live. I wanna say hi to you and also kinda hear about your business as well. But what we're going to do is kind of get going with, have you ever had a month where your revenue looked great and then the next month the numbers started to change and it wasn't so great, but nothing obviously broken? Did you didn't suddenly forget how to sell, but have you ever had that happen to you? If so, just raise your hand, put in the chat. I have had it. I understand. And I know you're not there alone. So, also, I want to say stay with me tonight because in the middle of this training, this is where most founders suddenly realize that why their revenue feels unpredictable. And I can guarantee you're going to have some aha moments or some that maybe push you to think a little bit different. And I would like to be here to support you through that and answer those questions too. So stay about the middle. That's when you're really going to start to figure those things out. But by the end of this training, you are going to understand some things. And I'm going to let you know what those things are. Why revenue in an online business often feels unpredictable. Number two, the structural problems most founders never see or understand. The 5 CEO shifts that are going to fix all of that. And really, that this isn't a motivational problem. Not at all. It's a design problem. And that's really back to that question I asked. Because obviously, you've had good months before. So why is another month broken or feel broken? Nothing changed. You didn't figure out how to sell, but why does your revenue somehow feel, you know, fragile or unstable? So let's kind of go into that. Again, if you're here live, go ahead and put in the chat that you're live. And I'm going to ask that question again. So if you have the option to type in the chat, say yes, if your revenue of your business has ever felt unpredictable. I'm here with you. I get it. Yes, mine has felt unpredictable as well. And with that, what's harder right now? Is it leads or conversions? So in the chat, if your revenue has ever felt unpredictable, go ahead and put it in there. Yes. And answer the question, what's harder right now? Leads or conversions? Okay. So we want to be able to see that and get those answers going right away. Sorry about that. All right, so I'm going to get started with the core problem here. And I see that, we've got some people popping in. Again, if you're live, just type it in there. But I want to know, have you ever had some unpredictable months where your revenue has felt unpredictable? Well, I'm going to talk about the problem of why that happens. And it's really an industry issue. So most founders think that they have a marketing problem. But actually, it's not a marketing problem. It's a model problem. And so many in this industry do not talk about models. So I know I may be using some words that sound unfamiliar. If I am, please put it in the chat. I will answer any of those questions or what they are or what I'm saying. I came from a traditional business setting into the online space and have worked here for quite a few years. So I do understand that there is some different words that happen in different jargon. So I want to make sure that everybody is clear so that I am not, saying something that you don't understand. But this is a model problem. And it is what the industry teaches, the big gurus. They teach funnels, launches, content strategies, DM scripts, or how to hack something. Now, I'm going to say this, and I know so many people are going to be mad at me. I get it. It's okay. But I'm willing to step out there and say this because I have seen this as I worked for very large coaches running their business, these are tactics. These only work when the structure underneath the tactics are built, which is a model. And so many businesses don't have models. Here's the part no one wants to say out loud. The industry makes money off of selling tactics. And it's really easy to sell a tactic because you're always looking for that next shiny object. We're human, that's what we do. But tactics aren't it. Structure requires a founder to actually look at the numbers, the hard stuff, and it is not sexy. No one can sell it well. It's really hard. Believe me, I'm in that business selling models. Um, so it's very difficult for big gurus to sell you a model. What they sell you is tactics, and those tactics are really easy to sell. And the other thing, this is a huge thing that they don't want to tell you, is that you stay in their ecosystem when you continue to buy their tactics and not solve your problems. And that's what they want because they make more money. They want you jumping from tactic to tactic to tactic because they have this great community. It's awesome. It's wonderful. You feel great, but you're not actually building your own business. They're not solving your problems. They're giving you something that may work for a while, for a little bit. And the other lie out there, this industry lie, is that we say, "Let's do it again." Well, hindsight is 2020, but however, they're telling you something that they actually haven't done. What they're telling you is what they're doing at a different level. So let me explain. So when a large coach puts in, I'm going to just call these things out. These are, I'm not picking on anybody. If they call out, oh, I put in an invisible sales letter, I don't actually have to take calls. I put in a funnel, like a snacks funnel, so that I don't have to take sales calls. Or I put in this other tactic here, and they sell it to you. Now, the difference is they're telling you that they would like to have done that before, and which is great. But what they're failing to tell you is they were able to accomplish that right now with all the knowledge that they currently have, the team that they currently have, as well as the money they already have. So, this whole thing is that they're trying to sell you something they actually do at that level. The math actually doesn't work. They are having ad budgets that are huge. When they say they've done something, they're throwing money at it at a great rate that you may not be able to. So the tactic is built on things like their capacity, which is like their team, their entire business has different capacity than you as a solopreneur, very small, and as well as their knowledge, the money that they can put and invest into that, and just their capacity. And so there's lots of things that go into that, and tactics that are being sold may work for a while. But the other thing, I gotta be honest, the biggest thing is they have these large teams, and they may say, "Oh, yeah, this is great. Here's how you do it." But when you're a mom and got a couple of kids, and you need to be able to have, time to do that, and you think this is that magic bullet, most of the time it doesn't work. It's really deceiving because you're not seeing the math behind it. They're not telling you that. They're definitely not gonna tell you that. So, first thing that I really wanna step into is what this industry lie is really the harsh math behind what this actually takes on these tactics. And I really feel like it's such a problem because there's a number out there that 82% of coaches fail within the first 2 years. 82%. Now, there's a lot of people who make it, and I'm not taking it away. Those tactics do work if all the right pieces are together. They will work. And it's not just more hustle, do more, things like that. But that number makes me upset. It absolutely makes me upset because I came from a world where I didn't have to buy this information. I came from a business world that I can go to an SBDC that could provide me that information for free. and tell me how to scale my business, how to run my business, how to look for business funding, all these things. But they also stopped and taught me how to build a business model that would allow me to scale and grow. So I build this foundation. How many people do you have? Do you have all these different parts? What's my capacity? What can I actually put into this? Do I have another job? Things like that. So that is very disturbing to me, that we sink our money, and I'm guilty of it too, into this dream that you can have it too. And I got to be honest here, and I'm going to call this out because it has burned me multiple times, and it's so frustrating to find out that so many of these gurus who are telling you things also have other jobs, or they have, it doesn't all seem rosy on the other side. So it's not exactly what it looks like. They're painting this picture, and the biggest picture that they're painting is this harsh math. And these are knowing the numbers behind business. And I'm gonna actually write it. I'm gonna do it like old school. Make sure when I hold it up. Okay. So what this starts off with is a very simple example. Okay. So I'm going to start with just how much we want to make. Okay. I'm going to write this down. So the goal is $10,000 a month. Okay. Why is that backwards? Okay. $10,000 a month. So $10,000 a month is our goal. All right. Now our offer, let's just be conservative. It's $500. Okay. And there's a conversion rate. Let's just say this is a tax. For most conversions, it's about 5%. So 5%. So the leads alone that you need to make this math work is this. Okay. So you want to make $10,000. Your offer is $500, 5% conversion rate. And that's pretty high. The leads alone, just what's coming into the top of the funnel, you need 400 of them. That is hard to do. Okay. So let's just think about this. So 400 leads. So do you actually have 400 leads? So if you were doing this, and this is a high number for that, is if these are DMs. Okay. DMs have a lower conversion rate, and you would have to start to get actual 400 leads, 400 leads you can actually talk to, ones that are willing to listen. You're going to have to like multiply that, and it's going to be like 1,000 leads. How can you talk to 1,000 people and manage 1,000 conversations? Like, I know the tools, but you have to have a team that does that. That's not something you can just do on your own. I mean, starting these conversations that we all know don't always go anywhere. Even if this isn't Facebook, come on. Like, this is crazy math. So this is really, really hard to digest. So I've got another example here. So if we have another simple one, $97 offer, okay? And your goal, of course, is the $10,000 again. And just the number of sales alone. So we have this. This is kind of easy math because it's pretty close. That's just over 100 sales per month. Okay. 100 sales per month. This does not even talk about the rate of what you need in traffic to get there. This is like way off. So if you wanted this and this was like back to the DMs or Facebook, you are going to have to talk to at least 400 people minimum just to get to these conversations. Now, I love the $97 offers, but that is a stepping stone, and that is an incredibly deceiving method in which these big gurus offer to you. Now, the difference is you have to have traffic, conversions, delivery capacity, And to get all this to work, so normally $97 offers is part of an Ascension matter, okay? But they have multiple funnels going at the same time. They also have a team. So they may be doing some DMs, some, nurturing within Facebook groups. They have an email list of 20,000 people. And so the conversion rate of that on an email list is like 2%. So like these numbers need to compound across. It's not just one. They have these multiple funnels, and the problem with that is it's hard to get there. Now, they've done it because they figured out the math, they have the money, they have the teams, and they're seeing and, normally these large businesses are getting enough traffic through paid leads or organic of like 40,000 visitors a month to their website. What are you actually getting? Are you 30, 20? What are you actually getting to your website? Even if it's a landing, you have enough eyeballs to even see this offer does not make sense. And this is what kills me because no one's talking about these tactics and how that builds into your actual life. Like, I can sell you anything. And the worst part is, I can sell you something and it's not actually what you need. And I'm going to sell you the next thing, which was probably what you needed before because now you're in my funnel. And now I've got you in my ecosystem. You like what I'm saying? I didn't give you enough. So now they have you. They have you in their ecosystem. And in that ecosystem, this is what happens. And so they've built this ecosystem to keep you in there with different funnels, different avenues for this, plus layering on their traffic that they already have, their email list, and the numbers just don't lie. They just don't lie. I'll tell you a few more here. Um, yeah. All right. So, oops. Of course, nothing wants to work today. So, okay. So, part of this is your model. And so the model that you're building on, you're selling these tactics, but you don't have the model. And the model doesn't actually start with these tactics. And unfortunately, these tactics are are what most people are telling you to start with. And I get now I'm a true entrepreneur. I absolutely love business. I know you got to start putting it there. You just got to start doing something. The problem is in a traditional business sense, you have a little bit more information. I'm going to tell you something. I will put it out there if anybody wants to know. Um, Strategizer. It is an amazing company. They have this business model canvas. I will be doing a live on it. I love it. Not anything to do with me. No, I don't make any money off of it. It's just something that works well. And this is what every business, I don't care what kind you are, should start with. And this is what is going to help you figure out your capacity, what you're selling for, numbers, kind of see it work together to see what kind of business model. So I'm going to ask this, and there is no shame here because I'm raising both hands. Have you ever had a point in your business that maybe you didn't understand the math and it really wasn't right for you? If so, say math. Just put it in the chat. I understand. I I'm going to tell you here. I understand so much that when I had more kids after COVID, got in the online space, decided, okay, I should just do this myself. I run businesses, blah, blah, blah. I fell for it. I fell for it too, and I fell hard. And then I got to a point, I'm like, this isn't how you run a business. Where's the business model? Where are the numbers? How come I don't have the numbers? Why are these things not working? Why are they not talking about the things? And then I thought, okay, I don't know this space. I don't understand it enough. But then I'm like, business is business. And these people didn't get to hear by not knowing some very specific things about business. First and foremost, they knew the numbers. Many of these people who are in the online space are business people first, and they have a business background. I have so many books and things, this is amazing book. He's a business guy, not just somebody who's a coach online. He's teaching now about it, but he is and has a business background. So the math and the numbers are what really starts. But once you step back and realize that those numbers are so important, there's another thing that you have to understand too. Once you figure out your numbers and you say, okay, I got my numbers, you also have to take this shift. And this is the second one really here. This is the operator trap. And this is where you have to get out of being an operator. And an operator um, really means that you are in the business, not working on the business. And we all have to do this. This is how businesses grow. This is where we grind and hustle. But unfortunately, grinding and hustling is very deceiving because if you step out of this operator trap, you're going to be able to see things differently. So when you take a look at this and just think about revenue, revenue depends on your time, your energy, your presence. Now, if you stop working, everything slows down. You can't scale that way. That's dependency. That's the operator trap. So if you are sitting here thinking like, yeah, I don't know how I go on vacation. I have to take all my work with me, things like that. There's 2 points to that. One, you're a small business and maybe you don't have another person. But two, if you're not thinking like a CEO and getting out of that operator trap, you haven't put things in place that will allow you, even as a solopreneur, to be able to operate in a way in which you can step away from the business. That means that things can execute, you can make money without you being in the middle of it. Now, I'm going to tell you this little story. I worked for a large coach, amazing. It was in a sector, not business to business. It was business consumer. She was an amazing woman, very, very smart in her own field. But she has been telling people about how to get into this field for years. She had a list of like 80,000 people before she ever launched her first program. Now, she launched her first program. It went well. It was more of a community based, and she loved it. Now, she also hired a kind of like a setter. He was a triager. He could close like low ticket offers, and it was like $250 and for just to get into this group. So she would have months that are $100,000 months, even more. I think her largest was 1 month, it was like $300,000. It's because this kid kicked butt. She was doing lives twice a week trying to get people in. It was great. Then she put in the other things, sales team and things like that. But when I came in to run the business, I was in an operator team. We couldn't do anything. It was really hard. We couldn't get content out fast enough. Now, the biggest problem is everything depended on her for the content. She did only organic content, which was amazing. That's a really hard thing to do. I only know of her and Matt Gray who have done this successfully at that level, but it took her time, her energy, her presence because she was it. She was the face. And with that, she started to burn out. And it was bad. What would happen is we'd have these really high months, and then all of a sudden, she's like, I'm overwhelmed. I need to take a break. She'd go on vacation for a week. And this might be a cruise or overseas and zero contact or limited contact. One, which meant no content was being pushed out and no questions were being answered. So everything would pile up. And then she would come back, and then it was a mass push. That little dip of 1 week without the content push and answering questions would cause a 4-month ripple. It was crazy. Now she was stuck in the operator trap, and that's why I came in, which was to really get her out of it, take that autonomy and really put something else in place. So I would put things in place so that we could figure out how can she do What is her business model? What is her marketing strategy? Things like that so that we could get her out of being, in the middle of everything. Also streamlining all the different funnels she had, tons of them. She was a techie, so she knew and understood how to build them. So she'd say, "Oh, I got an idea." Managing that is very, but what this whole story is about is the operator trap is all the revenue depended on her time, her energy, and her presence. She stopped working, everything stopped working, even the teams. So that's where we were able to turn this around. It was great. We things are amazing, but the idea is, and what I had to work with her because I needed her to come in and be a CEO or a president and think at that level. We really had to shift her thinking of how do I how do we move her from everything relying on her to her thinking about those things and strategies and delegating or automating and making sure that those things were in place so that we as a team did not depend on her to be there all the time because it was killing her. She would call me. I was getting messages left and right in the middle of the night, and I'm like, "You already have somebody in place. You can just stop this. I can handle it." But it was because she couldn't sleep. She was having panic attacks because of this. So that operator trap is really difficult, and really trying to understand with that operator trap, like how you need to get out of this so that you can move on and actually grow your business. And it's basically working on the business, not in the business. Not, and I'll say this as everybody's like, oh well, I'm a solopreneur and this doesn't apply to me. Yes, it does. 100% applies to you as well. So as a solopreneur, you can put things in place, you can understand and put a model in that is actually going to work for you so that you can do those things. Because the model itself is what's really going to dictate how you can grow your business and scale your business and what kind of tactics you should be using that fit your math as well. So, oh, so that's really the basis of this, that you really need to have this core idea and a shift in your mindset of who you are. And I've talked to many people, coaches that I've had, and I ask them, so how do you see yourself? Like, what do you see yourself as? Like, what do you call yourself if you introduce yourself? Like, oh, well, I'm a creator, or I'm a business owner, or, I'm an owner operator. And I'm like, well, when do you think of yourself as the CEO? And I got so many people who just stop. Like, I don't see myself as a CEO. That's corporate. I was like, no, any business that does this, that has to think about strategy, which online business is strategy constantly, you need to think like a CEO. And some of the things that you really need to start thinking about is back to those numbers. And I'm going to start to tie this together with the CEO numbers that I think are really important. I use these same numbers in traditional businesses that I would look at, plus other ones because it was a different business, but this is really what's important here. So the four numbers that are really important are the lead flow that you have, conversions, capacity, and that's your capacity in a business. That means if you're a solopreneur, what's your capacity? How many people can you take on a month? Okay, how many people can you take on in a quarter? What does that look like? What is that amount of people? How many people can you deal with a day? I just had a major upshake in our family. I got two kids who were in daycare all day and now they're home with me all day. I don't know. Like, I don't know what I was thinking. I had to change my business model and because my capacity changed. And the tactics I was using are much different now because of my capacity. And the fourth one is the owner's pay. Like, what do you wanna bring home? Now, okay, the goal of $10,000 is great. You also have to understand, like, what you need to take out. You have a loan, things like that. What are the things that you want to be able to take out of the business so that you can start figuring out, is that actually going to work? Are these tactics going to fit? And really, what are these tactics that you have these ideals for using sitting in the business model itself? And the business model decides what that looks like. So these four numbers are so important. I'm not saying you need to have all these crazy numbers. Big gurus talk about big things. That's their spot. You have to understand what stage you're at. And anybody who's under, you know, 50,000 a month still can use these numbers successfully and have a good idea of what's going on and what levers you need to pull. So the idea with this is that when you see that your lead flow has a certain number, and then you look at your conversion number. So maybe you have a lead flow, I'm just going to use easy numbers, a lead flow of 1,000 people a month. Okay. You're converting 50 of them through some offer. Well, your capacity is only 10. That's off. Like you can't take on 50 people in whatever manner it might be, unless it's just strictly digital where they're not doing anything or they're in a community. Those things are different. So like these numbers start to compound and how are they playing in? And then you get to start seeing, okay, well, where are my numbers at on the conversions that I need to get that lead flow? And so if your lead flow is off and you're not getting the conversions you want at that capacity, then maybe you have to go back to your harsh numbers and say, like, is this actually going to work? Is this real? Can I get the numbers I need to make this work? Do I have the capacity, or do I and my team, or me and my VA or my setter have the capacity to get these numbers so that we can make this all work so I can get my pay after everybody else? So I would love to ask you, do you ever look at these numbers? So if you do, pop in the chat and just say numbers. Like, I just want to know. There's no shame here. I didn't know this when I took over a business. I had no idea what in the world numbers I was looking at the first time I took over a business. However, I quickly learned that after that first couple of months, when my board was asking, like, where are we getting leads, things like that, I needed to know these things. So the business translates between traditional space as well as online. And this is very important, especially in the online space, because we're talking about, we don't have face to face in the same way. So lead flow, things like that are very important for us to have that information at the top. So if you have anything, put it in there. No shame. I totally failed. I got to tell you, and this is kind of like a little side note. To be a successful business owner in any way and a successful CEO, you have to fail. That's the only way you learn. And I'm going to say that we talk about businesses failing, and I say it often because I'm okay with saying that. Unfortunately, I know people take that the wrong way. However, if you're failing at something, it gives you so much data. Now, if you're doing great, you have zero data. You have no idea why things are happening and what you can continue to replicate in the same way. Like, yes, it's good information. Yes, you can have some. You don't get the kind of data you need. And that's where numbers come in. And I keep referring back to numbers like harsh math, the CEO numbers. It all revolves around that core, know your numbers, because that's what's going to be important to your business. So let's kind of do another exercise. So let's talk about the money here. So I'll show you a little more about this and kind of deep dive into this information and kind of go from there. So real math here. So again, we have a $500 offer. Let's just put it 5K. Let's make it easy. Is your goal. And that's pretty easy. I mean, we now know that we need how many? 10 clients. So that seems like super easy to get. I look at that and I'm like, oh, 10 clients, no big deal. I came from the sales world, no problem. Now, this is where things get tricky, because in different realms, different, sales organizations and different sales, that you might be in, the conversion rates are different. The tactics are different, and those tactics have that different conversion. So we'll use 5 again. So 5% conversion rate. Okay. Now the real math here. This is 200 people need to see your offer. 200 people. Okay. Now, 200 people. Tell me, when you're sitting in a Facebook group, which is not your Facebook group, but some big gurus, that you're sitting in their Facebook group and you're, doing all the things they say, do this, put your info out here. How many times do you think 200 people actually see your offer in there? Okay, another tactic. Still, we'll use 5%. If, there's lots of people out there who say that you should, go fishing in Facebook groups, which a lot of them are outlawing, not allowing you to do anymore, but start fishing. They're like, "Oh, 10 conversations a day." Okay, that's 50, okay? 5 days. 10 conversations a day, that's 50. You're not how are you gonna get to 200? Because most of those people that you talk to, 1, are not even the right people. 2, they may not respond to you. So the conversion rate on it is even lower. Now, even the bigger challenges, just because they're in the same group with you does not mean they're a good lead for you. Just because they're answering you does not mean they're a good lead for you. I say this with all the love and kindness here, but if they're sitting in a Facebook group, you probably can use my help as a business, like, coach, but are you selling them something that they actually could use? Or are they just wasting time sitting in a Facebook group? I got the wool pulled over my eyes. This is how it's done. Bought the program, bought the system, and I'm thinking, I know better than this. I worked for a coach, and I know how much time uh, this is crazy. I am never gonna get the leads I want, and I could have my own Facebook group, but the management of it to get to where I want does not fit my lifestyle. Not at all. Not being the mom of 3, my husband travels every week. It doesn't work. And so that was not a model that fit for me. And so seeing these numbers of having to talk to a minimum, this is just minimum of 200 people to see, to actually get down to my offer. I need to pitch them, or they have to, like, get to something that they would convert, like a conversion event. I need way more people than that, and I don't have time to sit in Facebook groups to do this. I need a method that works for me, actually works for me, not me doing all the work, because that's a CEO mindset. I gotta be able to still work on my business, make the sales. I'm a solopreneur. This is how it's gonna work. This is gonna happen. So that moment there, that no one ever tells you how to look at the numbers this way. And it's unfortunate because I sit with many founders who can't figure out why they are doing all these things and it's not working. Or it worked for a little bit and then it stopped working. But 90% of the time, they were putting in hard effort to make it work, and then it stopped working if they didn't do something. So 1, the operator trap. 2, they just were overwhelmed. I mean, totally overwhelmed with the ability to keep up with what was expected for these tactics at this rate. Because remember, they don't have the right, capacity for that. They don't have the same money as that big guru, same traffic, and same offer. It's like there's a whole bunch of different things, and the additional lines, streams of revenue or different funnels that are all feeding that. It doesn't have the same, email list. Like, these things all play into this. And so once we start talking about this, we go back to that same question, where do things feel broken for people? And kind of start backwards And I ask, and I'll ask you, put this in the chat, which feels broken to you? And this is just evaluation. This is no shame by any means. You feel like it's lead flow, conversions, capacity, or maybe not sure. So I've been not sure lately when I made the choice for my kids to stay home. I was like, "Oh, I don't even know what's broken right now. It's all." um, so that is really a struggle sometimes when you don't know. So what I ask is start tracking it. Just start tracking. Put it on a piece of paper. I keep little pieces of paper, whatever, right next to my desk, and I start tracking it. I got a little bit more sophisticated, using a Excel spreadsheet, looking at the weekly. That's how I do it. You can do it in so many different ways. You just need to start tracking it so you have some idea. Baseline, when things are good, but you also know when things aren't good. Because sometimes the numbers look good, but you don't feel good. All right. So many people sit here and say, okay, I'm feeling it. I felt it. I had to step back and look at my own experience because I've done this before in a different setting and evaluate it and really mapped my numbers for my business and created really the model that was going to work for me. Now, I know it's not out there, or it's not many big gurus are able or even telling you these things. Um, so I'm going to ask this: if you'd like help mapping numbers in your business, type in map in the chat. So if you're interested in just getting help, just put it out there. I do free strategy sessions. We talk about things. Just put it in there because if you're serious, you really want to fix these things, you need to know where to go. All right. So here is what I really want to talk about. And I started to talk about some of these things, but throughout all of this, it's been leading back to really where people are and why you need to get out of that operator trap. So I'm going to talk about how to fix your revenue problems by some CEO shifts. Okay. So first of all, these are things I would suggest writing down. I have lots of training material on this, freebies, things like this. I'm happy to provide. But what I want you to know and go away with today are these 5 things that will transform your business. Okay. So the first one is the student to CEO. Now that's a big jump. But when I talked about this before, that, we all get stuck in these other people's ecosystems. What they're actually doing is keeping you in the student role. That's consuming. So if you think back years ago when you were a student, you were in a consuming mode. You're consuming information. And once you became, an adult, you were able to, step into a role of where you would apply that information. That's an operator, that's a CEO. But really, we need to get out of that trap quickly because the longer we stay in the student trap is means that's longer that we don't produce money for ourselves or do the things we need to for our own business. We are only feeding these other ecosystems. I'm going to share this. I've talked about it. There's nothing wrong with Facebook groups. I believe they have a space, and I'm not against them. It just doesn't fit into my scenario right now. But think about that. When you live in somebody else's Facebook group, you're a student. They've got you. They've got your attention. And this is an attention economy. But then they are dropping to their ideal client, these gurus are dropping these things to you saying, here's an offer. Here's how I'm going to fix this. Oh, you had this problem. Here's what I can do for you. Great. However, it's not solving your actual problem. It's something shiny. It's on to the next tactic. Because really what happens is that, and this happens all the time in all businesses, things are going good. You use the tactic, it's working well, and it's not working well. And that's maybe where you had a good month, not sure month, and then a confusing month, like what in the world just happened? I thought I was doing everything I just bought. And you're like, It must be me. Nyeh, new tactic. And then we start all over again. Now, the thing with and what's happening is you stay kind of in this student mode. You're never really moving out. You're not using your numbers. You're not looking at your numbers. You're not tracking your metrics because you're just doing exactly what they said. Now, the part of that is if you just think about this, I'll draw my handy dandy little picture here. Um, if you stay in this trap, you are kind of going like this. Great, back. And then you kind of go, you're never really moving forward. It's kind of like this, like you restart all the time. You're never really making it forward. One thing that you are doing, and we're all guilty of this, is spending money on things we don't need that aren't going to actually solve our problems and feeding these large gurus instead of serving our own business. Now, taking this kind of as on the other side, if we are taking a look at this and stepping out of that role of student and looking at our own business and tracking numbers, things start to compound. You're going to have more of a line like this. Not only could, have jumps, things like that. Once you start knowing your numbers, things start to compound. So you actually are able to move forward. You have data. You're making decisions. That's really the difference, like between that student and that CEO, is you're making data-driven decisions. And I'll talk about that one. That's another one. That's another shift that we need to make. But it's really about seeing your business for what it is. It's not personal. And I take this to a fault because I'm very brash about it. I know I don't take it personal. It is what it is. It's just the numbers. It doesn't mean it's, my effort or anything like that. It is, these are the numbers and this is what it's saying. And these are the things. If I don't have the emotion in it, I just need to do what it says. Fix this, do this instead. So on to that. This is where we kind of switch to the second shift. Instead of tactics, we really need to focus on the money path. So this is really, really simple. Tactics are shiny objects. And this is a DM strategy, and that's not even a strategy, it's just DM messaging, whatever it is, Facebook groups, things like that. Those are all different tactics. Money path is what we really need to focus on. The money path is very, very specific. Where do your leads come from? What are the conversations you're having or how you're having them? Could be multiple different ways. Conversion of some kind, an event that makes them convert, like asking, or a call or a live or anything. And then the last one is them getting into your ecosystem. And that money path is very easy. However, tactics cloud that. You don't always see the money path because we have things leading here, things leading here. But it becomes confusing to buyers. We just need one money path. And the reason we need that one money path is so that we can see clear numbers. If you have too many things going on, you don't have clear numbers. And back to the person I worked for, the large coach, started to streamline. You don't need all of these other things. Yes, they are great. Different ways to do it. You can be on TikTok and YouTube and have lives and all these different strategies, whatever it may be. They're all tactics. You need to focus on a very few right now. If you're still under 100,000 a month, you can still focus on one money path and make very, very good money. Adding more on, once you perfect it, you know your numbers and you understand it. Because all it is repetition. You know what to look for. So the other one, 3, the next CEO shift is fantasy math to real money, which is real numbers. And so that fantasy math, I'm going to call this is not against anybody because I'm a girl. We all do girl math. When we go into the store, we can justify these things. That's one way we kind of talk about fantasy math. And that's just like this. We look at this and say, oh my gosh, 10 clients, no big deal. I can do that. But if you don't know what that conversion rate is and that how many people actually have to talk to and what that's actually going to mean and the hours time it takes, the tools you actually need to pay for to get that to happen, or a VA or somebody, a setter, that is fantasy math. You need to get over to the real math, the real conversion rates, and understand that so that you real numbers are telling the story. That is a very hard thing to get over because no one is putting it out there. No one wants to tell you that because they wouldn't sell anything. So, number 4, doing everything to a 30-day plan. This is where we start switching from, we're trying all these different things. We have all these different things going on. I'm gonna do everything. I'm posting the Facebook group, I'm on this, I'm on multiple sites, I'm on multiple social medias, I'm doing lives, all different things. This is where you need to streamline it and do something for 30 days. It's really 90 days, but 30 days is very good because what this does is feeds back into real numbers and a real money path. And you can think about this as a CEO because when you have these things all lining up in these shifts, you actually can tell what's going on in your business. And so doing everything and creating a 30-day plan that you stick to, and it's really hard because those shiny objects, but I can tell you it is freeing to be when you just say, I'm only focusing on this for 30 days. Because now you have the numbers to see. You don't have all the stress of everything else and showing up for everybody else. Your only numbers, what's important to you is showing up for yourself and your numbers. And the last thing, this kind of wraps everything together, and I've already been talking. Take the emotion out. Having that 30-day plan is going to give you data. Now you can see your effort might not be enough because if you're not doing anything, but your 30-day plan, you're working and your numbers are coming back and it's telling you something, taking that emotion out of it, saying it's not my fault. Maybe the tactic didn't work. We got to take out the shame of saying, I had the wool pulled over my eyes too. I probably shouldn't have done that. Let's figure out what works for me. Let's gonna figure out the tactics. Let go on chat and figure out the conversion rates for the tactics you're using. You actually understand what those conversion rates are so that you know how much time and effort you're gonna have to put in. So taking that emotion out allows you to have data. That data is just going to tell you, here's what it is. Here's what needs to happen. And when these shifts happen, the first thing that happens, and I can tell you 100%, I have been through this multiple times with multiple businesses. Even me as running somebody else's business, it happens in your nervous system. It's just stress relief. Because when you have a plan and you know you're looking at the data, you have the numbers, you've taken the emotion out of it, it becomes calmer. The noise all around you starts to shut off because you may not be focusing on that noise everywhere. You're focusing on your 30-day plan. Also, shiny objects don't get in and don't play into this because you're saying, I'm sticking to my plan for 30 days. So all these new tactics, things like this, my first thing that I do is I unsubscribe from everybody else's email list because those are shiny objects for me. That's my weakness. I see them in there and I want it. So that goes away. And I just become stressed. Like the stress starts to go away because my email is not crazy. I'm like, oh, what is that? Oh, that's such a good hook. I could use that. No, no, I focus. And so that starts to happen. And once that goes on, once you have these numbers and you evaluate them weekly, you start saying, oh, this is the lever I need to pull. I don't have enough leads coming in at the top, or my capacity is not where it needs to be. Something has to happen here. Now it's becoming more predictable. And the numbers normally follow pretty quickly after that, and so does your revenue. All right. So if any of this is making sense, drop it in the chat and just say 5 because these are the things that I think are the most important shifts that businesses need to make. And these are lived experiences. Over 20 years of running businesses, these 5 things change people and businesses quicker than anything else. And it's back to that stat that really bothers me of 82% of businesses, coaches failing in the first 2 years, that piece. If people knew these 5 CEO shifts, it would change everything for these people. I'm not saying all of them, of course, would not stay in business for many different reasons, but the chances of them being successful would be so much greater, so much greater. So that is kind of where I stand. And that's my motivation for doing this because I know what it's like to be able to run that successful business and have the right support. And so behind all of this, I mentioned I had to change my business model because my family life changed. And I decided that I needed to do something to stop businesses from failing. And I am a loner. Like if you watch my YouTube, which you should all subscribe if you're not subscribers, I don't agree with everybody out there. I am kind of talking about things that are not standard. And that's okay for me because I am taking a stand on behalf of businesses that need to make it. Because I see these people coming to me and they've invested their last dollar and it failed because they bought a shiny object. And so what I did, and this is my little story of where I'm at and why I changed my business model. And this is not, and I don't suggest people doing this like this, but it works for me, is that I created a 30-day breakthrough, a business breakthrough session. And this is kind of weird because normally you don't do this because it's one-on-one. I need more me to one, but I need to feel like I'm saving some people here from some major stuff. And what it does is it allows me to have both sides to this. So first of all, you get a one-on-one session with me. And we go through everything. We audit your offer, your revenue flow, we identify structural constraints, and we build a 30-day plan. But in that 30 days, you have support. So I also have weekly calls that we do, but that's in a group format as well. And you're also going to get all the written summaries, checklists, things like that. But to do that, I need everybody to be honest. And that's very hard. So, but you had such great success with it. And what I really try to do is make sure that with that, you are coming out with the support to get through that 30-day plan because the hardest part, I don't know if I'm not Catholic or so Lent isn't my thing, but I grew up, giving up something. It's hard. It's really hard. And for somebody to actually stick to something for 30 days, you need that support. And that's why we build this out together. So this is kind of my 30-day plan of how I help businesses. And it's, the business breakthrough session. And I am here to tell people about it. In it, this is where I'm at, and I'm ready to help people to basically save business. I come in when people are on their last leg. I'm not the first person they come to, and I understand. So I'm going to paint two pictures here. First one, you keep trying tactics, and the revenue continues to feel unpredictable. Okay, so you keep just doing what you're doing if you're feeling unpredictable. Okay, then future two, you start to understand your lead flow, your conversions, your capacity, your owner's pay. You built a 30-day plan, which has very clear money. And your money in your business start to feel different. Now it's scary because it feels almost like I'm not busy anymore. I'm honest, it feels scary, but that's why you have support. And that future is really for you to decide, are you done doing this? How much more time, energy, and can you give up or your capacity? Are you willing to give up for something that's not getting you there, for somebody else's ecosystem? Because at what point are you deciding that you're doing this for you? So if your business is making, money, but it's not feeling stable, this is that reason that I've made the business breakthrough session. And this is built for you. Now, tonight, I have it open until I get the first 10 people based on this live at $9.97. After that, it goes back up to $14.97. And with that, so $1,000, you're getting handheld support throughout a month, plus you actually get access to 90 full days. That is really something you invest in now to change your life. I know we're crossing over to Q2, here. But if you have this, the rest of your year can be different. And how long are you willing to wait? How much more money are you willing to invest into somebody else instead of yourself? So I'm going to drop this in here. Anybody is interested, you are, oh, there it is. This is the checkout page. And for those who are here tonight, I do have some extra special things. So I'm going to kind of tell you a little bit about what's inside the business breakthrough session. So again, there's a pre-call audit that we do, and then we take a private CEO strategy session, build out and answer all your questions, build out your 30-day plan, build out your money plan, and that's custom to you. You, your business, your capacity. No busy work. It is strictly diving in so that you know exactly what to do. Then there's the group implementation calls. Those happen every week. You have access. We group so you can talk to people. You have written summaries and checklists, so no guesswork. You'll have everything. But this is the big part. I am taking on all the risk. So I have a clarity guarantee. If you don't leave my container and that strategy session with a clearly identified bottlenecks, the prioritized 30 days plans, really the next steps that you feel confident executing on, you're not going to pay. I'll give you your money back. So there's no risk for you to not do this. It all sits with. Now, the bonuses that I kind of was alluding to, this is a few different things. So I was a high ticket closer. I was top in my teams, things like that. I also do, and if this is something that you need or have sales calls, I do sales script and call reviews. And so we do mock calls in groups. We have 2 sessions of those, but then I will also ask for your calls, or we'll practice whatever, if you're not doing them. We will do that so that we can work on them so that you can close through calls as well as check your script and give you all the information that you need to improve that script. Now, I'm saying this as a closer. I was a high ticket closer for many years, still do it. And so this is where the experience changes, how you do it, and what's really needed for your business, or if you even need a call, all different. Now, the other thing is really diving into those CEO shifts. So I have another mini course on how you actually implement those 5 CEO shifts. That is included in as well. So it is very exciting to say, I didn't just give you the 30-day business breakthrough session. I didn't just give you, what you need, that plan. Let me teach you how to change your behavior as well, and your thinking, not mindset, but your thinking and how you operate. So this is kind of all the things that you get all together as well. Oh man. Geez, it's the Midwest, and I have allergies. All right, so I am okay. So, some of you are gonna go apply tonight, which is awesome. But if you're somebody who wants to walk through the numbers and see it and do it by yourself, that is great. I'm very excited that you want to take that. But if you want to just have a call, I just need you to put a call there, and I will walk you through this as well to see if you're even a right fit for this. Because I know this isn't right for everybody, and that's completely okay for me. So if you are just more interested to figure out if this is something for you, put in the chat call or post in my, just comment to me somewhere, wherever you need it. Wherever you find me when you're ready, you want to call, and I will be able to hop on a call with you and figure out if this is for you and how you move forward. So this pretty much is exactly what I was hoping for. Now, I'm going to leave it open for anybody who has any questions of what you need, what you want. I want to thank everybody who is live But I also want to thank all of those who are replaying this. For those of you who are replaying this, I will stay in the chats and as well as in the comments so that I can answer anything for you and be there to support you as well. James, thank you very much for being on here as well. I see that you just commented something. So please stay, subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed this. But please, if you take anything away from this, is take away those 5 CEO shifts. I do have YouTube videos that do talk about these, so you can dive deeper into them. If that's where you're at right now. But otherwise, I will see you on YouTube and see those of you who are going to join the business breakthrough session on the inside.